Tonight, the residents of East Palestine, Ohio, again left swimming in a sea of doubt.
Who can you really believe, you know?
Health and safety concerns still rampant more than 3 weeks after the Norfolk Southern toxic train derailment.
We had eyes burning. I couldn't stop sneezing for a half an hour.
Today, federal authorities announcing the shipment of contaminated waste from the site would resume tomorrow to 2 new locations in Ohio.
All of this is great news for the people of East Palestine and the surrounding community, because it means the cleanup can continue at a rapid pace.
This latest development comes after officials just yesterday announced they were halting shipments of the toxic train waste to 2 EPA-approved disposal sites in Michigan and 1 in Texas.
Will that continue in any capacity? Is that material being vetted?
That material was already vetted. They are not currently accepting any more.
Still, Wayne County, Michigan Executive Warren Evans saying he felt blindsided by last week's arrival of tons of contaminated soil and water.
The outward effect of it looks like we're being sandbagged.
Okay.
Back in Ohio today, East Palestine residents stocked up on cases of free bottled water. Caravans rolling into town with other giveaways, including air filters.
How many's in your household?
There's 4 of us.
Meanwhile, federal agencies say outreach efforts to address residents' concerns will continue. But tonight, some here left wondering if their town will ever recover.
I've got mixed emotions about all the publicity, but by the same token, if we don't have the publicity, who's going to hold Norfolk's feet to the iron?
Welcome to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Lex. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment on the content. I appreciate you supporting the brand. You know what I'm trying to do with this. I'm at about 27 subs right now. I'd like to get to 100, then 500, then 1,000, 2,000. You know how this goes. So I really and truly appreciate you helping me to build this brand out. Welcome to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. I am your host, Jay Lex. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, thank you. I know it's been a little bit. Excuse me, this cold is coming back and forth, but nevertheless, I'm glad to be back on the microphone talking to you. I appreciate your support. Obviously, we know what's going on in the news. The big thing out of East Palestine with the derailment and the chemicals and everything along those lines. I know a little bit about it, but I've got a clip here from a show called Breaking Point. It's a little long, but I'm going to let it ride anyway, because I think it's important to get a little bit of an education in the area and all that other stuff. And so one of the hosts, named Crystal, actually is from the area. She's going to first talk about the terrible comments by that succubus, Joy Behar, and then she's going to talk about the town that she's from and everything along those lines. And so I'm going to give it a moment. I'm going to load it, and then I'm going to play it, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Crystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, we have a new contender for worst possible reaction to the catastrophic train derailment in Ohio, which spewed God knows what into the atmosphere and waterways, causing God knows what kind of long-term damage. The odious Joy Behar knew exactly who to blame for this toxic catastrophe sparked by years of political corruption and corporate greed. The residents of the town themselves. Why? Well, because they were part of the deplorable group who voted for Donald Trump. Take a listen.
I don't know why they would ever vote for him, for somebody who, by the way, he placed someone with deep ties to the chemical industry in charge of the EPA's Chemical Safety Office. That's who you voted for in that district, Donald Trump.
You can actually hear the View audience gasp and boo because they are so shocked. She would take this opportunity to scold these suffering Americans for their political choices. But you know what? I'm actually kind of glad she said it. I'm glad she revealed the ugly core of this type of snide liberalism. After all, her sentiment, it's not a new one. I saw it expressed on Twitter. I saw it hinted at by the analysts who dismissed the positive reception of Trump's visit because this was, quote, Trump country. And we all heard it when Hillary Clinton dismissed Republican voters as deplorable, and when even in defeat, she bragged about winning the places that were optimistic and looking forward versus places presumably like East Palestine, which were, in her words, looking backwards. Now, this type of political analysis, to the extent it can be dignified as such, assumes that the politics of people and regions are set in stone, immovable, irreversible. These people are deplorable. Not much you can do about it. Guess we've just got to pull a larger percentage in those optimistic, forward-looking places instead. Now, I used to live in Columbiana County. That's the county where East Palestine is located. I actually lived just about 15 miles from where that Norfolk Southern train derailed. My labor-centric economic populist politics, those were formed in large part by my time living in that region. So I know a little bit about the story of this area and how exactly it became, quote-unquote, Trump country. And that evolution was happening in real time right as I was living there. Decades ago, most of the plates and dishes in the world were actually manufactured in potteries in and around Columbiana County. The town I lived in is called East Liverpool. It was the epicenter of this industry. But nearly all of those jobs went overseas to places like China. Before it was Trump country, this was also steel country, where people could graduate high school and get a tough but stable union job, which afforded benefits and a solid middle-class life. Well, that, of course, has all been destroyed, too. In recent years, Columbiana County has been hit hard by the opioid epidemic and by deaths of despair. As tax revenue dwindled, the roads and downtowns crumbled, telling a visual story of decline and of abandonment. Now, Columbiana County used to vote for Democrats. Michael Dukakis, who famously lost in a landslide nationwide, he actually won Columbiana County in 1988. And then Bill Clinton won it twice by comfortable margins in both 92 and 96. However, in a sign of the coming political realignment, Ross Perot actually outperformed in Columbiana County, running on a populist platform against NAFTA and the giant sucking sound of jobs being shipped out of regions exactly like this one. To make a long story short, in the Clinton era, Democrats abandoned the New Deal in favor of neoliberal policies that devastated this region and many others. And when Democrats abandoned Columbiana County increasingly abandoned Democrats. In 2016, the congressional district that includes East Palestine swung 30 points right to overwhelmingly vote for Donald Trump. It was the largest swing right in the entire country. Now, there are a lot of parallels between this latest train catastrophe and the economic catastrophe that was unleashed on this region over decades. Just like with the train derailment, both parties were complicit in the destruction of this region. The abandonment, the betrayal, the union busting, NAFTA, market fundamentalism, permanent normal trade relations with China. At every step, a bipartisan consensus moved in favor of crushing towns just like this one. And just like with the train derailment, the media failed to tell the story of what had really happened here. And that story, at its root, is actually the same story as the train derailment. It's a story about government capture, corporate greed, and a deadly ruling class ideology that treats working class people as mere collateral damage. In their political response, Democrats mostly just chose to ignore these places altogether, except for when it came to election time, choosing to focus instead on their upwardly mobile, creative class workers. Republicans filled in the gap with culture war, same as they did with the train derailment. The Republican narrative said that the problem for this region wasn't bad trade deals that rewarded their donors and destroyed lives. It was immigrants and it was godless liberals. The problem that led to the train derailment wasn't industry capture and corporate greed. It was wokeism and token diversity initiatives. But a narrative beats no narrative every single time. You only need to look at the response of Trump versus the response of Biden and Pete to this tragedy to understand why. Now, again, Trump and Biden, both complicit in this problem. Both are lying about the root causes. But Trump showed up, and he didn't gaslight residents when it came to the pain that they were suffering. Meanwhile, Biden was in Ukraine, and Pete was feigning helplessness and handing easy grist for the rights culture war arguments by talking about construction crews with too many white men. Then, Democratic media allies sweep in, like the New York Times, to smear anyone questioning the official government narrative as a right-wing conspiracy theorist, and Joy Behar to scold residents and imply that they brought the disaster on themselves. The best response, I think, came not from any politician, but from Erin Brockovich. She offered practical advice from her years as an activist, and she validated their genuine concerns. She told residents, quote, "I feel your angst. I feel your frustration. You are not alone. Every community I've gone to has been given the runaround. You'll be told that it's fine, that you're safe, but it's not fine. I've never seen anything like this in 30 years. She walked them through a PowerPoint with everything they knew about the accident, including Norfolk Southern's disgraceful history of putting profits over people. She brought with her mothers from Flint, Michigan, who had organized in the wake of the mass poisoning of that city. bringing working class people together in solidarity rather than dividing them up by race or by political preference. In hopeful sign, seems like this approach landed and like people are seeing through some of this bullshit. As one attendee told The Guardian, quote, "I'm trying to be an active citizen, to stand in solidarity with the people here and show my disgust at Trump and Biden, who both had a chance to give us proper safety regulations and instead chose corporate profits. East Palestine deserves better than scolding, better than gaslighting, fake divisive narratives, which are all either party has bothered to offer them. And we sure as hell all deserve better than Joy Behar." Thought her comment was pretty revealing.
Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, it was a little bit of a long clip, but I'm glad that that she explained it way better than I could have ever done. And I'll go into it a little bit further than that. If you think for 2 seconds that all these derailments, because it's not just East Palestine, there's a bunch of other things going on in and around the country. And if you think it solely has to do with just some chemicals and some, infrastructure issues, it goes way beyond that. Now, I'm putting my conspiracy theory hat on, of course, saying that. But I find it funny that all of these things are happening simultaneously. There was a fire that broke out in some buildings in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. I could go on and on. There was something else in Canada. I'd have to look it up for you. But I'm glad that this Crystal woman explained it the way that she did. It was perfectly illustrated. And I don't know how many times I've talked about on this show why it is important that people get out of this mentality of left wing, right wing. They're all the same. They just answer to different corporate masters. I think the one big thing out of this, other than the Joy Behar stupidity, the stupidity that came out of her mouth, is the president of the United States in the middle of this awful situation. I've seen videos of some people will throw rocks into the water, and the water, like in a stream, is boiling, and he decides to go to Ukraine. How is this man not been brought up for impeachment? At least a show trial, something, you know what I'm saying? Like, how has he not been brought up on impeachment charges? This is criminal. But once again, there's going to be a bunch of people out here who are going to make excuses for him, who are going to say everything is fine, and there's a lot of people not talking. Let me just say it that way. There's a lot of people who aren't talking, who aren't saying what should be said. Hold on a second. This is about 5 days ago. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can play it here. All right. I have a clip here from the press secretary, the first black female secretary. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, this is the White House response to the mayor of East Palestine, saying it was a slap in the face to go to the Ukraine versus go to Ohio.
Thanks, Kayne. The mayor of East Palestine said that it was a slap in the face that the president had gone to Ukraine before he went to East Palestine. Does the president have any reaction to those comments?
Look, I'll say this, and I kind of said this at the top already, which is, I laid out what we have done since the derailment of February 3rd, and how we were on the ground very early on. And we believe that we have had a all of government, all hands approach to this, not just with the agencies, but also with the different teams here in the White House. You think about the Intergovernmental Affairs, you think about Office of Leg Affairs, and also the National Security Council have been all hands on deck. And that is because of this president's leadership. And that is because of what he has asked his team to do and what he has asked the agencies to do. So look, we're going to hold Norfolk Southern accountable. As I've mentioned, they've been investigating what caused the derailment, monitoring for environmental and health impacts, and screening over 550 homes, as I mentioned. EPA has ordered the railroad company to clean up its mess and pay for all expenses. And if it doesn't, the EPA said that they will make the company pay 3 times more. And Secretary Buttigieg has also written to Norfolk Southern to make clear that the industry industry's pattern of resisting safety regulations must change. And he's calling on the industry and Congress to join the administration in implementing that approach. So look, and as you all know, as I mentioned, Secretary Buttigieg is on the ground right now. He's getting an update. And we've had, again, multiple agencies on the ground. The president has stayed updated on this for the past several weeks. While he was in Poland, he spoke to the important folks on the ground, the leadership on the ground, including his leadership in those respective agencies, on what was going on and getting updates. And he will continue to do that and do everything that we can.
Has the president spoken to the mayor of East Palestine? Does he have any plans?
I don't have a call to read out or a planned conversation. I can tell you, as I've mentioned before, the president has spoken to Governor DeWine of Ohio and Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, and has had regular contact. Our teams have had regular contact, and you've heard directly from Governor DeWine about our federal response and how we've been working in lockstep with the local government on the ground.
So today.
Obviously, you guys can't see the video, but you can go and check the video out for yourself. All that blinking clearly tells me that she's lying. To what extent she's lying, I don't know. But clearly she's lying. It's unbelievable. The level of I won't say inept, because these people clearly aren't inept. Just the level of not caring that's going on here. I mean, another $100 billion went to Ukraine, a war that has nothing to do with us. But you can barely get any federal response. Anyway, you all know what's going on with that. It's truly unfortunate, but we all know what's going to happen, which is nothing. Nobody's going to go to jail. Was it Norfolk Southern is going to pay a small fine, if that? As the woman Crystal from Breaking Points explained very eloquently, this is on both sides of the aisle. One side is going to blame the other, and they're just going to go and do the back and forth thing. And everybody else, they're going to go back to their Cadillac insurance. There's going to be no real outrage. I mean, there's already been outrage, but there's not going to be any real outrage beyond this, because it's just going to be another story that's going to fall by the wayside. And those poor people out in Ohio who are, in my opinion, being used as pawns in something bigger, but I won't speculate on that because I don't have any evidence. But my spidey sense tell me this is much bigger than just a derailment. How did Pete Buttigieg get the job as Secretary of Transportation is beyond me. Well, I have an idea, but I'm not gonna say what I actually think on that. It involves anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to just sit here and, send my prayers out to the people of Ohio, of East Palestine, Ohio. What's happening is disgusting. People should go to prison, but we know that they're not. We know that there's crimes happening in real time in your face, and nobody goes to jail. They just lie and lie, and the mainstream media doesn't do anything about it. I'm hoping at some point, well, there's a little list out there that we've been waiting on. And I feel like they're trying to distract people from the fact that this list is supposed to be coming out soon. You know who I'm talking about. A particular pedo island out there. And the man, hung himself in prison so that they couldn't be talking. And so we're being distracted with derailments and explosions and this, that, and the other and spy balloons. But I don't have any formal evidence. It's all speculative for now. We'll see how it goes. The other piece of news that I wanted to talk about today, on a little lighter note, it's on a funnier note, I should say, is Mr. Kanye West. Obviously, we know a few months back he was getting into a lot of trouble for making anti-Semitic references, or what would they call anti-Semitic references. He got dropped by Adidas, and Adidas was basically going to try to sell the rest of his Yeezus brand. But I guess there was some kind of clause in the contract where they couldn't sell it without him being there, or they couldn't turn their backs on him or try to sell it and then try to drop him. Kanye West and Adidas have agreed to sell $500 million in Yeezy leftovers, which I find very interesting. I'll comment on that in a minute. Kanye West has reportedly come to an agreement with Adidas where the company would unload the remaining designs in his Yeezy collection. So I think, from my understanding, he had a bunch of other designs that hadn't come out yet, or that they had ownership of. And so I guess, whoever Kanye West lawyers were smart, were like, nah, you guys have the right to use them, but you don't own them. So according to reports from multiple outlets, the new contract will allow Adidas to release and promote the existing product created under the previous deal with West. It does not make any provisions for a continuation of the collection. As I told you before, when Kanye West was first doing all these things, I told you he was doing it on purpose so he could get out of that contract. All that quote-unquote anti-Semitic stuff he was saying was all to force Adidas' hand, because he was looking to go independent. Then the powers that be started threatening him and all this, or allegedly threatening him, giving him a hard time, so he had to fall back. The deal would allow, reports put the value of the remaining Yeezy X Adidas products at approximately $500 million. Whoa. And from my understanding, Adidas has lost about $1 billion since they let Kanye go. It shows you the power of knowing your worth. The deal would allow the athletic company to make up for the projected loss that it reported earlier this month, which, if I'm not mistaken, was about $1 billion. Woo! That is beautiful to hear. Let's see, what else do we have in this article? Adidas has blamed Kanye directly for the financial loss as a result of the brand severing their deal, which was estimated to be around $1.3 billion. According to a statement obtained by TMZ, the brand is in possession of numerous Yeezy designs it's unable to sell. Adidas has previously claimed in November that it's going to repurpose said designs under a different name. Sounds like theft to me. The statement added that Adidas could be drained out of an additional $534 million if it is unable to repurpose the remaining Yeezy clothes. With CEO Bjorn Gulden adding, the numbers speak for themselves. I have no issues with this. It sounds like Adidas was out here trying to steal Yeezy's designs and make money without them. Can't trust these big time corporates, man. See, we are currently not performing the way we should. Golden wrote, adding 2023 will serve as a transitional year for the company. There was reportedly a clause in Kanye's contract that he would receive a reduced fee if Yeezy designs were sold without his affiliation. But Adidas informed TMZ it does not want to give Kanye another penny of its money. I told y'all. Kanye West probably saw something he didn't like, started spitting bars out there left and right, pissed off a few you-know-whos, and said, let me get the hell out of here, because they're not going to make money without me. Now, we all know at the end of the day that Kanye West is a celebrity, so he's kind of an exception to the rule. But once again, this goes to a bigger point. When you know your worth, people ultimately cannot mess with you. Period. When you know your worth, people cannot mess with you. How many times have I sat here up on this show and told y'all, as a collective, you have $1 trillion buying power. You have so much power that you don't even realize. But you will give that power to other people and other brands instead of building your own. That's why I respect Kanye. I may not agree with everything Kanye has to say. I don't. Some of the things I say are a little off, I should say. But he understood his worth. He said, okay, you know what? Let me keep quiet right now. You know, he was on Fox News. He was talking about Christianity, which people hated upon, whatever. He's right-wing. He's a Republican, even though he considers himself more conservative. Kanye West's eyes were open. He realized what he had to do. He used the media, got himself out there, got out of his Adidas deal. Adidas realized, oh man, we can't sell any of this stuff without him. All right, you know what? Let's put a deal together. And now he's got another $500 million coming in. At least they acknowledge the fact that, you know what? He's a big part of the reason why, you know, we lost $1 billion or something. It was I think it was like $1 billion. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Kanye West doesn't owe Adidas anything. A lot of people are tied emotionally to these brands, and you shouldn't be. They're a transaction. That's all that they are at the end of the day. They are business affiliates. They are not your friends. They are not your compadres. They're not, they're not looking to be close to you. You might go out to dinner, but that's expensed. They might buy you expensive things. Talk to anybody who works in corporate America. I mean, some of the rules have changed now. But back in the day, if they took you to a play, they took you to a dinner, so some of the, really back in the day, they would go to gentlemen's clubs, things along those lines. They weren't doing that because they were cool with you. They were doing that to land your business. You think they're sitting there spending thousands of dollars at a steakhouse? Not that that's really happening anymore, especially in New York City, but because a lot of people working remote. But back in the day, you think they were going to Ruth Chris in New York City, as an example? Because, oh man, that's my boy right there. From Shanghai, from Singapore, from Zurich. Or did they go to those expensive ass places because I need to land this client, I need to land this business account, etc.? Some of you, not all of you, but some of you are emotionally tied to these brands. I'll give you an example, and this is not a shot at him or anything along those lines. Nelly, back in the day, you could go look up the song. I think it was called Air Force Ones. Put an entire song out talking about Air Force Ones. Did he ever get a dime from Nike? And we know for a fact he put that song on Air Force Ones. And I mean, people were rocking them already, but their sales went up. Was there ever an acknowledgement? Yo, Nelly, thanks, man. Here's a couple bucks. Not that I'm familiar with. I've heard him talk about it. No, I never got any money from that. An entire song written to a pair of sneakers. And Nike made a bunch of money on it. Did Nike come out? Did Phil Knight and them say, you know what? Don't worry about it. We got you. Thank you so much for the free advertising. No. Because Nike didn't have to. They could have said, yo, hey, no, we appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Probably Nelly was trying to get a deal out of it too. You cannot be emotionally tied to these brands. You cannot be emotionally tied to these corporations. They don't care for you. All they care about is how they can evade taxes and make as much profit as possible. And you know what? If that's the way the rules are written, I have no problems. Zero. No, there's plenty of y'all out here who will spend thousands of dollars, and I'm a pretty avid gym goer. Spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on expensive sneakers and under compression gear and clothes to go get sweaty in. Thousands. Under Armour, Adidas, and Nike especially. Spend thousands of dollars. What you should be doing is buying their stock. You see, once you understand your worth, and granted, you're not Kanye, who's a celebrity, but once you understand your worth, all right, y'all want to drop me? Good luck selling these. And oh yeah, in the contract it says that y'all have to sell it at a reduced fee without me being affiliated with it. These people will slit your throat in a heartbeat. Stop being so emotional to these brands. Stop being so emotional. That includes Jordan brand. That's not a slight against Michael Jordan. I'm very happy for the money that he makes, but the reality is a pair of Jordans cost $15 to make. Maybe $20. They're not that expensive to make, but he'll charge you $200, or Nike will charge you $200. For the same pair of sneakers that they made in some sweatshop in Taiwan or wherever. Stop being emotionally tied to these brands, man. Most of them, unless they're really cheaply made, pretty much work the same way. But y'all need to be seen in a pair of J's. Heaven forbid you wear something else. Because you remember back in the day, for those of you who grew up where your parents didn't make a lot of money, I used to wear Payless shoes all the time. And it was made fun of all the time. But at least I could understand it because I was in middle school and that was the thought process. Some of y'all still think that way at 40 plus years old. Stop being emotionally tied to these brands, man. They don't care for you. They don't give a damn about you or your existence. You're just profit to them. Which brings me, talking about emotion, which brings me to a final thing I want to talk about today on this show here. I got a text message. Oh, I don't have the date on it, do I? Oh, no, I do. This was about a week ago. I got a random text message. I don't know who the person is. It's a 708 number, 905. I won't say the last 4 digits. Which I believe is Brookfield, Illinois. I had somebody looked it up for me. And I found it very interesting. I don't know who the person is. I'm going to read what the person says, and then we'll talk about it. It says, Jay Lex, you are a coon. Ooh! You do not have the right to invite any fucking body to the cookout. You aren't even invited yourself. Go ahead and screenshot this to your friends. Have a good night. I appreciate that. And then there was a second one that says, Uncle Tom. My goodness. My goodness. I got this around 10 o'clock at night, a little past 10 o'clock at night. Thought it was a little weird at first. I'm like, oh, this is random. Like, and I started processing in my head, oh, I wonder who this person is. Because it's only one of a couple people. Because it came directly to my cell phone. Didn't come like via email or something along. It came directly from my cell phone. There's some people out here who don't like me. I'm okay with that. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with people not liking me. I'm cool with people not getting along with me. I'm cool with people not wanting to deal with me. But in one of the early episodes, I talked about emotions. Jay Lex, you are a coon. You do not have the right to invite any fucking body to the cookout. I want to go starting with that. I want to talk about the whole cookout thing. I want to say with all the disrespect in the world, I don't give a good goddamn about being invited to no cookout, okay? Let me repeat that. I don't give a fuck if I get invited to the cookout or not. You can keep your cookout. I really don't care. You understand? I really don't care whether or not I get invited. I don't care whether it's an evite, text message, whatever the case might be. Okay? Because most of those people who are at that cookout are the very people that I'm talking about who are emotional to brands like Nike and Adidas. Who have that same mentality from high school. Who will buy all types of high-end brands and hair and the nails done, but are 40 to 50 pounds overweight. Who talk about being independent unless they talk about being independent, but then aren't truly independent because they are emotional to the job that they have. See, I don't mind being disliked. I don't mind being on the outside. I quite honestly don't give 2 shits. And you want to know why? Because it is mentalities like this that I am trying to avoid. And in some cases, trying to show people this is not the mentality that you should need. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a good paying job. But some of you, probably this person too, this coward, who's too cowardly to show their face or say what their name is, it's cowards like you that I want to avoid. You want to call me names? Call me names. Call me Coon. I've been called Coon, Uncle Tom, like they mentioned here. I've been called Carlton Banks from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I've been called Braxton, I believe his name's Braxton Hildebrand from the Jamie Foxx show. Aha, Broham. I've been called that on many occasions. Because I tried to learn how to speak proper English. I've been told I sound white. Even though most of y'all will switch your voice up the very second it's time to do a job interview. They're the same ones. You see, calling me names, things like this bring joy to my heart. Because it proves, once again, that everything that I'm doing is correct. None of you who have an issue with what I say on this show can dispute what it is that I'm saying. So you go to emotions, you go to insulting, you go to name calling. It's like some of the women out here who get mad at the guys who want to go become passport bros. Or who want to date outside their race. And when those guys say, these are the issues that I'm having, you can't dispute what they're saying. So what do? You call them sellouts. That was one of the ones I missed, sellout. Coon, Uncle Tom, you owe it to the black community. You use every shaming tactic on the spectrum that you can. And then get mad when it doesn't work. Why? Because a guy like me, I could call Republican too, that's another one. Because a guy like me is too goddamn smart to fall for y'all's bullshit. Those are the facts. I've lived I've lived a decent life, I'll say. You know? Not everything's gone the way that I wanted to. But I still keep plugging away. You see, I don't really care that this clown texted me on my personal phone, by the way. Did not email or anything along the line, my personal phone, which more than likely means it's somebody that I know. Probably using a burner account. Clown. You see, you want to call me those names, that's fine. But I ask you this question. Can you dispute anything that I've ever said on this show to be a lie? I'll wait for your response. You can't argue anything that I said on this show is a lie. You want to know why? Because I do my research. You can call me every name under the sun, but you can't call me a liar. And so if you want to sit there and attack me because you disagree with my point of view, or you disagree with the fact that I talk a certain way, that I've dated and married outside my race, that's fine. But can you dispute without emotions? You see, once again, I assume this person is black unless somebody's playing the ultimate prank out here. Some of y'all black people work in emotions. You work in your feelings. Let's be real here. Nobody cares about your feelings. I sure as hell don't. We're not laying together. We're not breaking bread together. We're not coming up with ideas to further better ourselves financially together. You are an ignoramus who's too much of a bitch to let me know who you are. So you try to bully me electronically. That doesn't work. If you have something to say, step to me like a man or woman. We don't got to talk about violence and all that other stuff. No. Step to me like a man. Step to me like a woman. Here are my issues. And then I can retort. We can go back and forth. Or we don't have to talk at all. But sending me a text message at 10 o'clock at night with no context other than insults is a complete and total waste of your time. Your time. Well, not really my time. Your time. I appreciate you telling me to have a good night, though. I slept like a baby after I read it. I really did. I might have snored a little, too. You see, once again, I do not care whether or not you like my thought process or you don't like my thought process. I'm not here to make enemies, but let's also be clear. I'm not here running from a fight. Figuratively speaking, just in case the feds are listening. You don't like me? Cool. Why am I in your head? Why are you calling me names? I don't even know who you are. You could be Casper the Friendly Ghost for all I know. As if I give a good goddamn about your thoughts as it pertains to me. You're probably one of those people still wearing a mask outside in the middle of winter thinking that Rona is coming to get you. You probably wear it as a political statement. Idiot. See, I don't mind people disagreeing with me. I don't mind it. In fact, I enjoy it because we get to have a conversation. I ain't got to agree with everything that somebody has to say. That's why I don't go to the extent. I might, if somebody takes a shot at me or they say something stupid, I'm going to call them out on their stupidity. You don't like me? Great. You don't want to be around me? Cool. Trust me when I say I do not, for all intents and purposes, give a damn. I'm going to continue to do what it is that I do. I'm going to continue living, enjoying myself, going out to dinner, going out for a drink. I've got a godson coming on the way that I'm extremely happy about. Or I'm going to become a godfather again, I should say. I'm extremely happy about that. That's what I care about. Some lame who can't put a face to the comment, you're less than me. You're the worm under the dirt. That's what you are to me. I just wanted to put it out there. I wanted those who listen to this show to understand who I am. Now, if they don't already know. The fact that I live in your head rent-free makes me giggle. And I hope you continue to believe that I am one of those people. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I don't disappoint you. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment on the content. Take care.